When I gave birth to my only son, my husband held the baby for the first time, looked lovingly into his eyes, and pronounced, "You will never play football." He had seen his only brother blow out both knees before the end of his junior year of high school, and that was not happening to our son. My husband never even considered some of the other dangers of football, though, such as CTE. As a parent of a young man who loves football, I have done extensive research to further my understanding of chronic traumatic encephalopathy and the dangers of CTE to young football players. Parents, coaches, grandparents, and football fans need to know the dangers so that they can make informed decisions for what Forbes magazine reported as the 2.2 million boys ages 6 through high school who play football in the United States. Due to recent studies on the dangers of subconcussive impacts and chronic traumatic encephaly on children who play tackle football, parents, coaches, and teams should not allow tackle football to be played by children younger than 14 or high school freshmen. I live in Nebraska, where our Husker football is ingrained in it just as much as the value of family is. But I want to share with you today why delaying playing tackle football is necessary to protect the members of your family. Today, I will explain what CT is, second, current research on the dangers of tackle football for young players, the ability to make football safer, and fourth, what you can do to make this happen. CTE stands for Chronic Traumatic Encephalopathy. In an interview with Chris Nowinski, who co-authored one of the studies on CT in youth, CNN reported that CTE is, quote, a neurodegenerative disease thought to be caused by repetitive brain trauma, which shakes the brain inside the skull. CTE has several negative symptoms and effects, and according to an article titled Chronic Traumatic Encephalopathy, a spectrum of neuropathological changes following repetitive brain trauma in athletes and military personnel, it says, the initial symptoms are typically insidious, consisting of irritability, impulsivity, aggression, depression, short-term memory loss, and heightened suicidality. The symptoms include cognitive defects and dementia. This same article notes that these symptoms can take years or even decades to manifest for an affected player. Some players with confirmed cases of CTE have been Junior Seau of the San Diego Chargers, who died at age 43, Mike Webster of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who died at age 50, Aaron Hernandez of the New England Patriots. These men, like many others, dealt with issues of suicide, violence, depression, and dementia before their early deaths. And even according to his family, Frank Gifford, the ABC broadcaster and former New York Giant, exhibited symptoms of CTE before his early death. Now, it's one thing to think about those who played pro football week in and week out of having CTE, but it's another thing to realize that this process can actually be starting when they're 5 and 6 years old. Boston University recently released a new study which links youth football's subconcussive hits and damage to the brain. Science Daily reported that a new technique was used to image and compare the brains of kids who play tackle football and kids who didn't play tackle football. Changes in brain structure were noted in those children who played tackle football. A study reported by the Radiological Society of North America explains the risk to kids ages 9 to 12 whose brains are really changing and growing at that time. Quote, the functional regions of the brain are starting to integrate with one another, and players exposed to repetitive brain injuries, even if the amount of impact is small, could be at risk, according to PhD Jeong-Chul Kim. Now, the imaging showed that the part of the brain that bridges the two hemispheres changes with these subconcussive impacts, and this affects how the two sides work together on motory, sensory, and cognitive tasks. Kids who play tackle football develop CTE symptoms sooner than others. Dr. Ann McKee, who was one of the authors of the Boston University study, in talking with ESPN, reported that the symptoms of CTE occurred about 13 years earlier for those who played tackle football before they were 12 years old. So playing before you're 12 years old can bring the onset of symptoms 13 years earlier. She also said that every year of tackle football before the age of 12 increased the onset time for CTE behavioral, cognitive, and mood symptoms by over 2 years. So each year before the age of 12 brings symptoms 2 years earlier. McKee told Time magazine that even if players don't develop CTE, other neuropathological diagnoses occur in players who played before the age of 12. If your son or grandson or future son is like mine, he will love football and he will want to play football. How can we stop them? Maybe we can't, but we can help keep them safe. We can do our best to protect them, and playing flag football until the age of 14 is a safer option. The older a player is, the body is more physically able to withstand the hits. A report from the Virginia Tech Helmet Lab explained that, quote, children are not just scaled down adults. Differences in anatomy and physiology, like head and neck proportions and brain development, contribute to differences in tolerance to head impact, close quote. The Concussion Legacy Foundation explains why 14 is a better choice. First, body to head size ratios have developed to those close of an adult by the age of 14. By age 14, players have the upper body strength to help withstand impact and absorb impacts. And playing football until the age of flag football until the age of 14 allows players to focus on basic skills instead of tackling. According to Lee, quote, flag football can include all of the crucial elements of football, such as strategy, kicking, passing, running, and even end zone celebrations, with one key difference: no hitting. Former pro football coach John Madden said, in true John Madden style, quote, they can play flag football, and with flag football, you can get all the techniques. Why do we have to start with a 6-year-old who was just potty trained a year ago and put a helmet on him and tackle? We'll eventually get to tackling, closed quote. Several talented players in the NFL waited until high school to play tackle football. The list includes Tom Brady, Jim Brown, Mike Haynes, Anthony Munoz, Walter Payton, Jerry Rice, Warren Sapp, Michael Strahan, and Lawrence Taylor. Changing youth football to tackle only until age 14 should be widely accepted. According to the Concussion Foundation, kids tackle football is relatively new. Kids under 14 have only been playing tackle football for 1/3 of football's 150-year history. The Aspen Institute Sports Society program states that, quote, there's no indication that a switch to flag football would decrease the quality of tackle football in high school, college, or the pros. And a survey by the University of Massachusetts Lowell Center for Public Opinion Research found that over 75% of the adults surveyed already think kids shouldn't play tackle football before they turn 14. By playing flag football until they are freshmen in high school or the age of 14, it's possible for young boys to play the game that they love without sacrificing part of their adulthood, possibly part of their lives, to CTE. By being educated and joining together, we can make football safer for our children. Join the 3 out of every 4 adults who don't believe young children should be playing tackle football. Go to www.flagfootballunder14 and click on Join Team today. Add your name to that of parents and scientists and professional football players calling for a ban on tackle football for children under the age of 14. Everyone wants to be on the winning team. And by discontinuing tackle football for young kids, everybody wins. In summary, CTE is the result of brain damage from subconcussive head trauma, which tackle football during early youth has been linked to. Youth can play tackle football and learn to play well while reducing their CTE risk. Most people don't want children playing tackle football anyway, but more needs to be done. In conclusion, please join the team at Flag Football Under 14 to help eliminate youth tackle football. There are many former players and coaches who have said they would not let their son or grandson play tackle football, and neither should we. Bobbleheads are meant to be fun souvenirs, not our own brain-damaged children.